Today, I'm gonna take you with me inside of my practice session so you can learn all my techniques for an efficient practice. Okay, so I set up my camera, take a seat, and then we're ready to go. So this is basically what I was practicing. And then I was like, oh, let me check exactly what I was doing because I'm messing up slightly here. Well, this is one thing I always tell my student. I be telling them, do not miss your practice session because that's what's gonna help you to grow as a musician. Look, I was messing up, and this is not something I'm gonna be comfortable to do in public. But in my bedroom, I can mess up as much as I want because it's a learning process. But you can't do that in public. Oh, and I almost forgot the most important of all, my metronome. Do not ever have a practice session without your metronome. It's so important as a musician. Okay, come on, it was slightly too fast. And then I went on and on with the same thing until I remembered there was something I was trying to practice the other day, so I coupled it with this same practice. Okay, now I have this whole line of circle of fours starting from the 7 all the way through the 4 added to my voicing that I was already playing. One thing you cannot afford to not do is to practice the same thing that you learned on one key on like all the keys, all the different keys. Because, well, you know exactly why. And one thing with practicing is the fact that you have to repeat stuff over and over. There's not a count. There's not a certain amount of times you have to do it, but at least you have to feel so comfortable doing it that it becomes a second nature. Because when you're in public, you're not gonna have the time to think, to play what you practice. It has to be second nature. It just comes. Now, pay attention. Something interesting is about to happen. I'm about to make a mistake and see how I'm gonna learn from it. That's interesting. Now, usually when I do this voicing, I do 2, 3, 4, 2, 5. But here, instead of doing the 4, I accidentally did 4 sharp instead and see how I'm gonna try to turn it into something. And I was actually able to make something that actually makes sense. And all the rest is just me repeating the same thing over and over, like I told you, to make it part of me. So I just had to cut this part because it's gonna be boring. So I just repeat it over and over until I've accidentally played this cool thing. It's cool, right? But as you can guess it, I'm probably about to forget that in the next couple of days because well, unless I keep repeating it over and over because as you could see, I just played it once and then I just move on with the same thing I was doing, which is a bad practice to do, especially when you're trying to remember stuff. You have to repeat them over and over. That's how they become a part of your vocabulary. But to be honest with y'all, this was just the beginning of a whole creative spike during my practice session. Just wait for it.
So that's what is that actually?
Well, as you can see, that's just me trying to analyze the chords I just learned. Well, notice that I don't just learn the chord and just play it recklessly like that. I see people do that, and when you don't follow up with the chord you play, people already know that this is a chord that you just found on YouTube or somewhere, but that you don't even know what you're doing. Because when you play a certain chord, it has to lead a certain to a certain place. That's why sometimes they say there's no mistake in music. But what they mean is, as soon as you play a certain chord, as long as you play the following chord right, then you haven't made a mistake because it has to lead somewhere. But if you play a cool chord, but then it leads nowhere, they well, my brother, you just picked that on YouTube, but you haven't even learned the resolution. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. Wow, so as you can see, I went on and on because that's the key. Repetition deepens impression. Repetition deepens impression. So as much as you repeat is as much as you're getting more familiar with what you're practicing. So I don't want the video to get too boring, so I'm gonna cut it off here. But keep in mind, just repeat over and over and take it on all the different keys, and that's the key.